Hello everyone, today we're taking a look at the TCL Flip Pro. I'm really excited to showcase this device because it's a KaiOS 3.0 device. It's the most advanced one because it's the only one that has a KaiOS assistant, so Kaiva instead of Google Assistant. This is their solution to bridge a little bit of the gap between the voice commands and everything else. So the TCL Flip Pro, we're going to talk about the hardware, the software, and everything in between. It's essentially a very good device. It's plasticky, nothing special. It costs about $80 plus tax. It is a flip. It has a 1.4 LCD screen on the outside and a 2.81 on the front. Nothing superior quality or anything else. The volume rockers are on the side, and you have a 3.5 millimeter headphone jack and a USB-C port, which is actually very welcome. On the right placement, we have it on the outer shell. We have the camera, nothing special. I'll showcase some things. And the speaker on the back, which can be decent, sometimes muffled if you put your hand around it. You have a removable battery, nano SIM card, and also micro SD on the device itself. It works only with Verizon until you wait until it's unlocked. Of course, after 60 days, they unlock their devices. The software is very similar to the previous KaiOS devices, nothing super special, but it does work. It does have the KaiOS store, and most of the games and other functionalities are there. You can install them without the need to log into an account. My main criticism for KaiOS is always the advertisements that you see between screens when you're opening apps, but for the most part, it works really well. Again, I'm going to be showcasing most of the software because I want to talk about it and I want you guys to see how the phone actually works on real kind of time. And most of my reviews are going to shift to this mode, so it's a little bit easier to see. Sorry for the glare, by the way, but I'm pretty sure you'll be able to see. When you're adding a contact, you have a lot of options. You have add email, company address, you can add notes, and you can even have some extra things here and there. But for the most part, the contact list is pretty basic and it's not super amazing. You also have 3 keys. One works for messaging, one works for favorites, and the other one works for back. The messaging key sometimes works and sometimes it doesn't. It's semi-consistent. I wouldn't say it's a big issue, but hopefully they'll be able to fix it. Calls are pretty good. You have the weather, and as we're going to see in just a second, every time you open the weather, boom, you have an app ad right there, which is the main annoyance of KaiOS. Any third-party app is going to have an ad before you actually get to the information that you want, which can be annoying to a lot of people. But for the most part, the app works really well. It grabs your location and everything that you need, and essentially you'll be able to add different cities if you want to get to know a different weather for, a different town, maybe where your parents live or friends or family, whatever it is. Then you have the news, which you can collect. You can use different ones from all the different countries. You can change some of the view from single view to grid view, depending on your preferences. If you want the icons to be bigger, you do have an MP3 player, and you do also have the internet. Again, the camera is not super great. It's functional, and I'll showcase some samples in just a second. But for the apps that are preloaded, you cannot remove any of them, which is a little bit of a bummer, but there's not a lot of bloatware. Again, for the camera, nothing amazing, nothing great, nothing out of this world, but it's pretty serviceable. It does its job. You have maps, and then you also have other applications that you can install. Here I installed PodLP, which is a podcasting application. It works decently well. It's actually one of my favorite apps on KaiOS. You have the calendar, which you can introduce a couple of extra notes and, of course, reminders that you may need throughout the day. You can set up the time and everything. The file manager works very well. And then you have Kaiva, which is the assistant. It's kind of like the replacement to Google Assistant. Even the logo is very similar. You have a radio, FM radio, which doesn't work without the 3.5 millimeter headphone jack. But again, the device works well and it has access to the main necessities. It does have some games preloaded, which again, you cannot uninstall, but it's helpful. You have To Do, Recorder, and a couple of extra things here and there. I like KaiOS, and during my experience, this was my initial impression when I recorded this device, was very good. But the device is also decent when it comes to phone calls, when it comes to cell reception. The buttons are very clicky. It's very responsive. I didn't have any issues while testing. And battery life was actually very good, about 2 to 3 days without any issues. And I really enjoyed that. Now, it does have some annoyances. Again, besides the ads, when you're composing a message, you do not have the ability to do a group text message unless you actually put what's it called, a subject. So let's say you add a phone number like I'm doing right now, and you add a secondary phone number. As you will see, the SMS screen does not move. However, if you add a subject, so if you go to options and then you add a subject to the text message, it will change from SMS to MMS. And it doesn't matter what you name it, you can just put a number in there. And now you have access to group text messages. It is an annoyance that KaiOS hasn't fixed. I don't know why, but again, it is what it is. So you compose the text message, you send it, you're good to go. Essentially, it's one of those things that doesn't, really work well with all of these things with KaiOS, but it's part of the system. I'm testing here the speech to text, and it's pretty reliable. Actually, over time, I've been using it, and it's pretty good. It's not super stellar. It does get you the message, and it does very quickly. It doesn't stop very quickly either, so it takes maybe about 30 seconds to a minute to stop. So I really enjoyed using the KaiOS system 3.0. Is very responsive, not a lot of lag, but over time, I don't expect it to get any extra features. And that's something that I want to caution you as you get this device. One of the main things is that it's probably not going to see a version of WhatsApp. As far as I can tell, WhatsApp has not committed to KaiOS, which is a little bit of a bummer. And Google seems to be cutting a lot of support, especially for Google Assistant. Even if you use the Kaiva to ask for a question or whatever, it just deserves a Google search. It doesn't do anything else but that. But again, a very decent device, a good device to test out. I think you can look into it, go into the store, check it out, and see if it's for you. And again, if you have any questions or anything that you may need for this device, make sure to ask them in the comments. I'll be interacting with you guys, and I'm really excited to see if this is a solution to some of you. But upcoming reviews for extra phones will come, for Sonim, for Mudita, and a couple of extra things. But thanks for watching today. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next video.